So in this story, we're going to be talking about the pastor and the warlock. You guys know in churches they use holy water, but spiritual life, our water is Florida water. And Florida water is a spiritual cleanser. I use this to cleanse a lot of my crystals, to cleanse my space, to cleanse my office floor. I put it in a spray bottle and I spray around myself to restart my day. I cleanse my hands with it if I feel like I came in contact with negative energy. This is just the all-around spiritual cleanser. If you're about to have a deep conversation with someone, a healing conversation, you could throw in some Florida water and this would just set the tone to remove all negative energy, negative feelings, to just give you that fresh restart. And you can get your Florida water from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. Hello you all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video where I tell a story while I do stuff. Today I am making my money powder that will be the new dressing in my money manifestation candles. I finally got this concoction right and I'm super excited about it. So this will be now the dressing in all of my money candles. But before we get into today's story, because we are going to talk about a preacher obviously and a warlock, so this story may be a little triggering to individuals who practice the Christian faith. Why did you click on this channel anyway, with my name being BlaqueWitchYaya? What else did you think we were talking about? And the characters in this story are Cassie and Pastor Brown. So let's first begin with Pastor Brown. Before he's even a pastor, I guess he got ordained or whatever for him to be a pastor, so now he wants to start his own church. Now his daughter Cassie isn't really into it like that. She's more into the spiritual stuff because she has friends who buy crystals, who meditate. She goes to the park with them and meditate every so often, and like they just have like little spiritual talks. What do you think this means? And look at the moon. Ooh, full moon means this. So like they're learning a lot about spirituality, and she learned and she just began to really connect with them based off of that. She feels good with it, but she knows that once her father has a church and he's into it, he's a pastor, she doesn't want to like embarrass him by being the spiritual child, and she's still in their house, so she kind of keeps it a secret. But she knows that her dad is working on becoming a preacher and having his own, a preacher or a pastor that owns a church, one of the two, a preacher or a pastor I think, that owns their own church, right? So she's just kind of keeping it to herself. She tells her friend like, hey, I may not be able to hang out with you guys so much because my dad, he's about to, you know, become a pastor and have a church. I know for a while I could probably still hang out with you guys while we build a church, but if it blows up to be this thing that he wants it to be, you know, I don't want to cause the family shame, because the father, he wanted to be like one of those famous pastors like John Gray, Jamal Bryant, Joel Osteen, like one of them, right? And so she knows like if it blows up like he wants it to, I won't be able to, you know, do so much so public. Maybe we can like go to y'all house and do it or whatever. I just, you know, and the friends understood because they come from a Christian family too. It's just that theirs was a little bit more accepting of their changes. So one night Cassie decides that she is going to get a tarot card reading, and this isn't her first time. She gets tarot card readings once a month over the phone, right? And so she does it in her room. She's off by herself until one night she's in the middle of a reading and her dad storms in. Why is he storming into her room? I don't know. And so then he hears that she's getting a tarot card reading. So he hangs up the phone. He takes her phone. She's 17. I don't know why he's still taking her phone. But he takes her phone and he's like, why are you bringing this evil into my house? The whatever person that trained him to be a pastor or initiated him or whatever was like, they told me that the devil will try to come in and do this and that as I'm climbing my ladder to success. They told me there will be temptation. They're just trying to go through you because they can't get through me. He's doing the whole thing about how she's evil, right? He was like, I'm so disappointed in you. We told you not to dibble and dabble in the witchcraft and how to manipulate your mind, you know, all that stuff, right? So she kind of used to it. She was like, I know he would react like this because she hears how he talks about other people, right? So she was like, I know, I'm just trying to get some guidance on what I should do next for like my college life. I'm about to graduate. I'm just trying to figure things out. And he was like, you go to God, man, you go to God. Why am I mocking him like that? Oh my God, let me stop. And so he was like, you go to God, not man. Man can't tell you what you need to do. So he goes into the whole preaching thing. I don't know if he was trying to practice, but he preaches a whole sermon to her, takes her phone, blah blah blah, right? And so then the tarot card reader ends up emailing her and saying, hey, I don't know what happened, did the phones cut off? If you would like to complete your reading, just let me know, we can reschedule sometime, blah blah blah, because she's like a loyal client. So he's like, hey, I don't know what happened, but if you want to reschedule, just let me know, right? And y'all, this is not the Baron. I know I talk about the Baron a lot. This story is not him. So some weeks go by and the pastor, the father, ends up finding a church that he likes, a building I guess, and he's going to turn it into his church. So they build it up, they do construction on it, they invest a lot of money in it, and no one's coming. Like, family members come every so often, but people aren't really into it like that. They're like, I just rather stick with the church I go to, because I guess when you start a church you have to find sinners to come to it, because usually everybody has their own church, or if they have a problem at their church then they may change churches. But people don't really change churches like that. They may visit. He had a lot of visitors, but no one who actually wanted to join the church. So he began to get frustrated because he's like, I know I have a gift. I want to exercise. I want to preach to the people. So he would go on like corners and preach to people, then hand out the little flyers for his church, like, join us this Sunday for service. It'll be food. He started offering food, but nothing was working. So he started to question himself, like, do I have this gift? Is there something wrong with me? Like, why isn't this going to no one else? And so he begins to get desperate. His wife is kind of like, well, I don't know, it's going to take time. You know, the other pastors told you it took them years to build their church. So, you know, but he was like, I want to do this now. He was really greedy. He was like, I want to do this now, though. I want to hurry up and exercise my gift now. Not greedy for like the money, because he had enough money to sustain himself. But he was like, he just wanted he was a Leo. He wanted the attention of like, yo, I'm preaching to so many people, like, look at me. He wanted that feeling because he would feel validated in the number of people in the not the pulpit, congregation, right? Sorry y'all, my church vocabulary is dwindling. So Pastor Brown is getting frustrated, not with people, but he feel like something is wrong with him. So he gets desperate to the point where he goes back in his archive, because he was so against Cassie getting a tarot card reading. He wrote down a number, put it in everybody's phone in the house to make sure that they blocked it so they couldn't call, as if you can't just unblock a number. But he was a little older, so he put it in everybody's phone so they could block it, so not let the devil inside the house, right? So he goes to his phone and he finds the number that he blocked, and he calls the number. And then the tarot reader answers. We'll call the tarot reader Jeffrey, right? So Jeffrey answers and he's like, hello. And then Pastor Brown is like, hey, my daughter Cassie, she gets readings from you. And then Jeffrey was like, yes, sir, and I understand that you no longer want her to get readings. She has not gotten a reading from me since that day. No problem. So he's letting him know, like, hey, she hasn't gotten a reading from me. Everything is good. This and that. He was like, I'm not calling for that, but thank you for respecting my boundaries. You know, he liked that type of stuff. He's like, thank you for respecting my boundaries, but I'm just calling to see you tell the future, right? And so Jeffrey's like, yeah, I mean, I can provide you with the reading. Is that what you're calling for? He's like, not a reading, but like, you know, just tell me what's going on. Then Jeffrey was like, that's a reading. He's trying to avoid it, for it to not be a reading, because he's like, evil. But it's like, it's a reading. He was like, yeah, when can I call? And then Jeffrey, he's kind of getting satisfaction out of that, because he knows what type of father he is, and now he's giving into like the spiritual side. So Jeffrey's like, I have a few minutes before my next appointment. I could lay out a few cards for you. And so Pastor's like, okay, give me a moment. He hops in his car, he sits in the yard, hides out while he gets his reading. So Jeffrey's telling him his future, like, okay, I see that you want to talk to people, you want to preach, you want to go into ministry. The reasoning behind it is kind of, if like he's reading him down, and the pastor's like, he always thinks this stuff is evil, but he's kind of impressed that Jeffrey is able to see all this stuff, right? So he's like, yeah, that's how I feel, yeah. So then he's getting the reading, and Jeffrey asks him, well, you're not bringing in people because you didn't bring in any spirits into your church. And then the pastor, he's going back and forth from enjoying the reading but feeling guilty about it. So he's like, I'm not letting those spirits in my church. No, that's evil. And then Jeffrey's like, not the spirits I work with, if that's what you're referring to as evil. Whatever spirits you work with, who are you working with to bring in people? And then the man is like, I work with Jesus. I only work with Jesus. This and that. You know, respect it. Do what you do. But Jeffrey's like, okay, I understand that. That's the one who gave you the gift, who blesses you with the gift, who protects you, blah, blah, blah. Like, Jeffrey understands, like, sometimes I feel that spiritual people understand other people's religions more than religions understand our spirituality. Like, we're never going to be here like, y'all delusional, y'all practice it from a book, the way they be like, we evil, we demons. But it's like, anywho, we just kind of mind our business while they mind our business. But that's besides the point. And so the pastor asked, so what spirits you talking about? Then he was like, do you work with any of your ancestors? Was your father a pastor? Who energy can you work with for it to guide you? Did you anoint the building? Did you have sigils in there? Like, is it just a regular building? And the pastor's like, well, no, I didn't anoint it. My hands are anointed and I worked on the building, but I mean, I didn't anoint it. Should I put holy oil? And then Jeffrey's like, sir, if you don't mind, I have actually done this for a few pastors that you may know of. I anointed their building to bring in people and to just create prosperity within their church. And so then the pastor's like, well, I don't want no witchcraft in my church and this and that. Then Jeffrey simply asks, so why did you call? He's getting frustrated because it's like, you call for my service, but you're calling everything I do evil. So the pastor's like, well, just tell me what I need to do. And so Jeffrey asks, what's your church address? He gave him the address. He was like, can I meet you there on Friday night? Sure. They scheduled an appointment. Jeffrey comes there with all of his sigils, his symbols, his smoke, and he anoints the church for the pastor, but for prosperity. Again, Jeffrey doesn't work with, the Jesus and Christian energy, but he's able to work with his spirits just to create prosperity on whatever level that he desires. He does a generic thing where it's like, hey, I'm gonna create prosperity. You guide where you want that prosperity to go, because this isn't my avenue, but I'm gonna give you my gift of creating a land of prosperity for you. You guide it how you want. So he creates sigils he pulls up the carpet. He's writing sigils underneath the carpet to bring in like prosperity, energy, money manifestation, protection, and all that stuff, right? And then he places 2 unks in the corner of the church. So the pastor sees this and he's like, no, I work with the cross. I don't want this. So Jeffrey, he kindly explains. He says it so nicely in a way I can't reiterate, but he says, this is basically the original cross. It means this, it means this. You're taught that it's evil because it's associated with people like me, but it's basically the balance between masculine and feminine energy. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. It's basically like a key for life or death, the afterlife, for this, and that. He explains the whole thing. So the pastor's like, okay, well, just put it in a place where nobody can see it. So he hides it inside. You guys know in church, it's like those benches, but it's like carpet on them. So he slices a cut in the carpet on the one in the back, like the fabric. What am I trying to say? Y'all know the benches that you sit on have like fabric? He cuts a slice into it and he sticks the ankh in the one in the far left corner. He sticks it in there and he seals the carpet back. You can't even see it because he puts it right behind that little thing, the little wooden thing that holds the Bible. He puts it behind that so nobody can see it, right? And so they go on. He pays him for his service, blah blah blah. Y'all, instantly within weeks, he noticed every church service it'll be 5-10 more people. He'll start to see the same faces. They'll start bringing in their friends, and over time it was like little by little a lot of people started coming in, started posting him on social media. One of the one of the members taught him how to live stream on Facebook. That brought in more people. It's just the people that were able to come in, they're either bringing in people or helping him, like, let me teach you how to live stream. Hey, I play the drums, you want to play the drums? Hey, my mom can sing, can she sing? So basically it just started bringing in different people, and people started enjoying his word because they said he was a really good pastor, right? And so then one day in the back of the pulpit, in the back of the church, there was a baby there who was playing with the little wooden thing that holds the Bible, like swinging on it like this, and they ended up tearing it, and then the ankh falls out because he put the ankh behind it. And so the lady, the church lady, the mother had looked down at it and she just started screaming. Dramatic. She just started screaming, and she was like, Pastor Brown, someone put evil in your church. Look at this. What is this? And so the pastor asked, and like, where did you find it? My grandson was playing with the Bible, and it fell out right behind it. That's just how the devil sneak up on you. So that you're trying to get the word, they just come up behind you. So they just doing that. I'm mocking them because that's literally how they sounded. I'm not mocking church people. That's just literally how her voice sounded. And so the pastor's like, oh my gosh, let me get rid of this, and that. So he takes it and he puts it in his office because he didn't know what to do with it. He know that Jeffrey charged it, but he was like, I don't want to throw it away, because if I throw it away, like, the people may leave the church. And so the mother's like, you ain't gonna throw that thing away? And he was like, I'm not about to throw this away on my property. I want to anoint it first. I want to cleanse it with holy water. Then the mother's like, that's right, you don't do that. You know, whatever they was doing. So, sorry, I don't want y'all to think I'm mocking her, but that's how she sounded. I know, that's right. Yeah. And so after church service, Pastor Brown calls Jeffrey. After church service, Pastor Brown calls Jeffrey, and he's like, hey, one of the church members found the unk. What should I do with it? Then Jeffrey was like, did they touch it? And he was like, yeah, they touched it, and I put it in my office, and I said I was going to throw it away. And then Jeffrey's like, do you still have that Florida water I got you? So he looks down in his filing cabinet drawer and said, yeah. He was like, take a paper towel and wipe it down with Florida water and reset your intentions, because he made Pastor Brown do a petition of what he wants his church to be, right? And so he wiped it down, he reset his petition for him to be able to share the word amongst thousands and all that good stuff, right? And so he was like, so where do I put it now? He was like, just hide it in your office somewhere where no one will touch it. And he was like, well, where'd you put the other unk? He said, the other one is safe. Just put that one in your office where no one can touch it. So he puts the unk back at the bottom of his desk next to the Florida water, because he know no one will ever be in his office, right? So the church kept growing and growing and growing, ended up being a mega church. They had to get a new building, and they just made that building like the Bible study building, and they ended up building an even bigger church amongst it. Of course, he called Jeffrey back to anoint that building too. But this time, when they were working on the building and Jeffrey was anointing it, Cassie comes. And so she comes, she has the paint from Home Depot, like, hey, Dad, I got the paint. And then the pastor's like, okay, just wait outside really quick. And so then she looks in the window, not even a window, like it was still a building where you could kind of still see through it because it hasn't been installated yet. And so she's like, Jeffrey? And then the dad is looking like, the pastor is looking like, and then Cassie goes off, you told me to stop getting readings from him. I'm trying to convert myself to Christianity, and you up here have him anointing it. You made me stop talking to him, and he was providing me with the guidance I need, but you're using it, blah blah blah. So she's going off saying, how dare you, how could you? And so the father apologizes, like, you know what, I shouldn't have judged it. This man has helped me out so much. It was kind of like peaceful. I don't know why. I would have been like, Nick, you. So she's going off. She's like, how could you? He was my spiritual advisor. I needed all the guidance from him. Like, I've been lost ever since. While I'm trying to help you build your church and tell my friends to come visit just to be a number, and you're using him, but you made me stop using him. You're using him to your advantage, but I couldn't just get a reading from him. So Jeffrey just kind of standing there like, I mean, I'm just, I just go where I'm needed. So the father apologizes. He's like, listen, if you need to keep getting readings from him, keep going. He has helped me out so much. He's a good man. That's my fault from judging. And then he quotes, he who without sin cast the first stone. I went against my word. He went past the owner. So she was like, okay. So she was just happy she's able to still keep on with her spiritual journey. He even let her like, hey, if you don't want to come here, you want to go off on your own spiritual journey, go ahead. Because he just felt bad of how bad he was judging spiritual people, when that spiritual person was the reason why his church was prospering, right? So then there was a mega church conference, I guess you call it, where like pastors and certain members who want to go visit certain churches. So they knew that this church was up and coming. It was the newest mega church in the South. They're like, okay, let's go here. Let's see who this Pastor Brown guy is. So all the pastors come, they visit, they enjoy the word. Some of their members came as well. They had a grandiose time, right? So afterwards, all the pastors went out to eat. Everyone's noticing them. Pastor Brown is living his dream. So he's like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging out with the pastors I looked up to and that I wanted to be like. This is so good. So the pastors ended up getting like a separate room in a restaurant. So they're all sitting down and talking. So then they're talking. Then one of the pastors was like, so where you get your word from? Asking Pastor Brown. He was like, well, I get my word from the Bible. I get my word from the Bible. He's just like, Jesus, love, Jesus wept, all that stuff. And so the pastor's like, but no, when you need guidance, who do you go to? And then he was like, oh, I go to the person that ordained me to be a pastor. Yeah, I talked to him. But he was like, no, like actual guidance. Like we all go to like spiritual readers in their little creepy shops and stuff that could tell your future. And so they're just all being open and honest about like, yo, we go to these little spiritual people and they guide us. They help us with our word and what we should do next. And if we get in a little bit of trouble, they give us, you know, some crystals, a little can, a little pouch. Then one of the pastors is like, yeah, I keep this pouch that a witch had made me. I keep it in my pocket every service just so I can deliver a powerful message. Just like for speaking and attracting people, this and that. So they're all sharing what they do. And one pastor's like, yeah, I keep this necklace on me. It's a ankh with a crystal tied around it and this and that. So they're all just sharing their whole little witchy side. And so then Pastor Brown was like, well, I did get a witch, tarot man, spiritual witch, warlock person, whatever you call it, to anoint my church. And then the other pastor, Pastor Daniel, he was like, I knew it. I knew someone in the South couldn't grow a church that fast without some extra help. I knew it. And so then everyone else was like, yeah, man, you did say it, blah, blah, blah. So they kind of all knew that he was doing something. Because it's like, ain't no way you could grow a mega church that fast in less than a year. So Pastor Brown is looking at everyone joking about how they go to botanicas and stuff. And Pastor Brown is like, so is this what all pastors do? They just dabble in evil stuff and preach a different word. He's judging now, even though he did it himself. He was so judgy. And so then the pastors is like, we don't dabble in evil stuff. What you think is evil is what you think is evil. Pastor Brown is like, but I was taught that that stuff is evil. That's why I felt so guilty about it. Then the pastor was like, well, what were your intentions behind it? Did you have greed? Did you want to make money? Or did you want to spread the word? The Pastor Brown was like, I wanted to spread the word. I wanted to be able to preach among thousands. And so then the other pastor was like, then it's not evil. So basically, they were all just sharing how they have a spiritual advisor just to get different viewpoints, how they get charms from them and different ingredients and stuff like that. So they were just all sharing their stories. Of course, Pastor Brown felt a little bit less guilty about it, but he was kind of shocked, like, am I being like a hypocrite? Am I, like, is this normal? And from my perspective, stepping out of the story, from my boyfriend, now I'm talking about the Baron. I've heard a lot of pastors get readings from him. They don't want it recorded. You could tell a pastor voice because they have that, nah, young man, they have that type of voice. And like they'll say like, hey, I'm a pastor, but you know, I just get these readings for guidance, because it's like when everyone's looking up to you, who do you go to? You have to go to someone from a different perspective. So pastors be out here getting readings. More of the story. But I'm gonna stop this story here before we get into too much detail. Let me know what you guys think about this story down below of the pastor and the warlock. Like I always say, as above so below, as within so without, as the universe so the soul. Until next time, you guys, I Shay.